Jaguars head coach Liam Coen talked recently with Peter Schrager on Peter Schrager's podcast, The Schrager Hour, and really kind of broke down a lot of different topics regarding the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, he's heading into his second season as head coach of the team that resides in Duval County, but he also kind of really dived deep into five Jaguars offensive skill players that I really wanted to react to his comments and give my overall takeaways from Liam Cohen's just comments from Peter Schrager's podcast with himself. And I really think that some of these comments, Jaguars fans need to pay attention to as we not only get into training camp, preseason, and the regular season for this team in 2026. This episode of Jags Now is presented by our wonderful friends over at PrizePicks. Make sure you use code HMA, guys. We got a new user offer. If you play $5 and win that initial $5 lineup, if it's your first time, you get $150 in bonus lineups. All you have to do is use code HMA. All right, so getting into it here, pretty much makes sense to start off with the quarterback position, right? Trevor Lawrence, and Liam Coen really talked about Trevor Lawrence's growth as a quarterback in the National Football League, and I really agree with a lot of what Liam Coen had to say, so without any further ado, let's get into his comments. We get out to spring practice and just kind of kept doing this. I would say the last 8 or so practices, man, he was lighting it up. He was making throws on a daily basis that not just myself, but everybody around him were very high. And you're like, whoa, dang, did he just fit that in there? I think he was trying new things a little bit. He was getting the comfort and confidence just to fit some balls into windows maybe he wouldn't otherwise, or to practice some of these new things that we're incorporating throughout the spring without thinking as much, right? And, Trevor Lawrence, I think you really saw two different sides of T-Law in 2025. You saw the first half of the year where clearly he and the offense were not on the same page, right? But once the Jacoby Myers trade was made and things really started to get loose, I mean, Liam Coen infamously made the comment of like, hey, Trevor, just let it loose, man. Just go out there and play. We're trying to see what all you can do. Stop playing so rigid. You see the numbers on screen. Like, he became a different quarterback last year for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's a big part of why they ended up winning the division, winning 13 games, and he was top 5 in MVP voting. And to me, this kind of vote of confidence from Liam Coen in Trevor Lawrence signals not only is he proud of where Trevor Lawrence currently is as an NFL quarterback, but he thinks that he could potentially see some more from T-Law heading into 2026 and beyond. And I'll tell you this much right now. If T-Law can take another step for this Jacksonville Jaguars team, regardless of what else happens on the roster, because you're going to have guys that, overperform, underperform, and you'll have just kind of throughout the roster some inconsistencies. It's just the nature of the National Football League. But if you're a franchise quarterback in today's NFL can take that next step, you are a Super Bowl contender. Because Trevor Lawrence last year, I'm not saying he is necessarily like this, but at times he was playing like a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League. If he can make that more of a consistent kind of sample size as compared to just the last 8 games of last season, Jacksonville's going to be in a really good state, and I think Liam Coen is very confident in his quarterback. Now let's switch over to the running back position now, where Bhayshul Tuten, we haven't really dove into what I think Bhayshul Tuten could be for the Jacksonville Jaguars going into 2026, but I thought Liam Coen had some pretty interesting comments in regards to the former Virginia Tech Hokie. Yeah, Tuten, I thought really had a good spring. Year one coming from Virginia Tech and really was North Carolina Central to Virginia Tech, and man, so he had a little bit of learning curve to do with the protections and a lot of those things that come with playing running back as a rookie. You look at the playoff game against Buffalo. You look at some of the other games down in the red zone. He does a great job of finding the end zone. He does, and his yards after contact and rushing yards, man, when he can get going and get downhill, I mean, he was 4.28 coming out, so he can fly. Now, it's more so he was conscientious about ball security. That was a big problem for Tuten coming out, as he had those fumbling issues. Okay, now, Tuten, you got it. You understand it more. Now just go be you. Go do what got you here. Go be special. That's who you are. We're definitely expecting Tuten to have a big year for us. And I truly think that Tuten gets unlocked this season. Last year, when he was paired up with Travis Etienne as kind of a dual comeback or dual running back duo with those two, he was playing more of a complementary role last year. And like Coen said, was just really trying to start to figure things out. And I think this year, Coen and this offense and this coaching staff is really going to put Bhayshul Tuten in positions to succeed, and he is going to thrive in this offense. And we're going to talk about Bhayshul Tuten a little bit more here in the episode in just a moment, but we would not be able to do today's show if it wasn't for our friends over at SeatGeek. Today's show is sponsored by SeatGeek. use code chat10 to get 10% off your next set of tickets. MLB is in full swing, and you can get tickets to all different types of sporting events on SeatGeek. The NFL schedule has officially released, and SeatGeek is the best place to go if you want to get tickets to a Jaguars game this year. Now, personally, guys, I will be calling Jaguars games from here in the studio at Dallas, Texas, but no matter where you are in the United States, or heck, if you're even international, you can go see the Jaguars play a game this season. The Jaguars take on both the Eagles and Texans overseas in London. But to kick off Jacksonville's season, the Jaguars are taking on the Browns at home, and you can get tickets with SeatGeek for as low as $179. Whether it's a ball game, concert, or any other event, SeatGeek is the place to go, as they have your back when purchasing tickets. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots as they mean good, red dots as they mean bad. Use code CHAT10 to get 10% off your tickets, next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off tickets with promo code CHAT10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and make sure to have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Shout out to our friends over at SeatGeek for sponsoring today's show. All right, so getting back to the Bhayshul Tuten conversation, because I really do think, not that he was hindered by Travis Etienne. I think they actually played really well off of each other, but you didn't really quite get to see the full Bhayshul Tuten unlocked. And I think with Chris Rodriguez entering the fold this upcoming season, he's obviously going to have a role. I'm not saying this is going to be a 100% Bhayshul Tuten, bell cow situation in the Jaguars backfield, but last year, he didn't put a lot of tread on the tires, as it were. In 15 games played, 83 carries, 307 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, only had 79 receptions for 2 touchdowns. To me, with Chris Rodriguez already dealing with a foot injury that he's recovering from this offseason, Bhayshul Tuten and just the overall vibes that we're hearing from him going into this, kind of offseason program, into training camp, into preseason, to me, there's a lot of stuff to like here with Bhayshul Tuten. I think he's explosive. I think he's a home run hitter. I think he's going to do a better job at kind of seeing and finding the holes in Liam Coen's scheme in that rushing attack and trusting his offensive line more than he did in year one. And I think the sky's the limit for what Tuten can be in this offense. You guys believe in Bhayshul Tuten? I know I do. If you do, hit that like button, because I think Bhayshul Tuten is going to go off this season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hit that like button if you're a fan of Tuten and this Jaguars team. All right, getting into another takeaway. This one, the man, the myth, the legend, Travis Hunter, right? Who, it's been said multiple times this offseason from both Liam Coen and James Gladstone, Travis Hunter's role in this upcoming season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Liam Coen made it abundantly clear, right? Because Peter Schrager even kind of gave him a little out in, kind of posing this question, saying, he's going to play a little bit more defense. Is there going to be any truth to, him being more one-sided or anything like that? Liam Coen kind of shut that down and said he is going to be playing both sides of the football just like we planned to do when we drafted him. That has not changed. Now, the percentage on one side versus the other, that's fluid. That's something we have to continue to work through. But I just know the guy has worked his tail off this offseason to show his teammates that I'm going to be ready to go from training camp, and he's ready to go. And we'll see if he's actually ready when the Jaguars start training camp next week. But, Coen alluded to the snap count and the overall difference, right? And we've talked about it on this show before. Travis Hunter, 2-1 in terms of offensive snaps to defensive snaps last year. I mean, it was pretty kind of remarkable considering I always thought that Travis Hunter was going to be a better corner than he could be a receiver. Now, that's not saying he'll be a bad receiver in the National Football League, but clearly the Jaguars had plans for him to be a factor on the offensive side of the ball, but he was limited in terms of the overall play that he got last year on the defensive side, and just unfortunately tearing that LCL injury during practice last year. He only got 7 games played, and it's kind of a shame because it really was that last game against the Los Angeles Rams in London where Travis Hunter kind of had his kind of breakout moment. But you see the production on screen. That's not something that you would love from a guy that you drafted number 2 overall. And this is just me personally. I understand people have their own differences. If it were up to me, I would play Travis Hunter more at cornerback than wide receiver going into the season. I've kind of already accepted the fact that James Gladstone and Liam Coen think that, Travis Hunter can play these kind of both 2 ways in the National Football League and be a productive player. And I do worry about Travis Hunter's durability long term. That being said, I'm not questioning his ability, but in terms of the clear needs of this team, Hunter will 100% be needed more on the defensive side of the ball at cornerback versus wide receiver, where you have guys like Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, and obviously Brian Thomas Jr. So we'll see if Liam Coen agrees with me, but I do think Travis Hunter should play more corner than wide receiver this year. Okay, moving on to arguably the offseason MVP, if you want to call it that. I mean, it just feels like every other day there's been good reports about Brian Thomas Jr. and his kind of outlook going into 2026. Well, Liam Coen talked about that with Peter Schrager. And, there have been a lot of people, myself included, that have said, 2025 was not a great year for Brian Thomas Jr. Liam Coen doesn't quite see it that way. All I know is I saw that I saw the guy just catch balls all spring. Obviously talking about Brian Thomas Jr. Look, anytime you come in, there's change. He had a great rookie year, or he has a quote unquote down year of 800 yards, which I'm not saying 800 yards is nothing, but for his standards, it was a down year. That thing started off slow, but it started off slow for our whole offense. I do agree with that. Like, we weren't clicking on all cylinders. We were winning games. We were running the football. We were playing physical. Our defense was really turning the ball over at a high level. And then things started to click for everybody. And it does take some time, especially when you're a receiver playing on the outside. And a lot of our offensive formations are inside the numbers and condensed splits. And you're playing a little bit more inside. And we have to learn our players. Our players have to learn our system. And we have to blend that. It's going to be about the players over plays, right? And I think there's a lot to take away from there because, look, you want to say it's a down year, you want to say it's like not quote unquote a bad year. I can hear that out, right? Like 800 yards is nothing to scoff at. However, based on the expectations of Brian Thomas Jr., he didn't quite live up to it. And one thing that we've talked about before is just the overall usage of BTJ by Liam Coen as compared to his first year as rookie year, as highlighted by Dandy Griffiths. Shout out to him for this graphic. You see the more variance in terms of like the different routes run by Brian Thomas Jr. Whereas in 2025, I think Liam Coen was really trying to figure out, okay, how does this guy fit into my offense? And there wasn't as much variance in the route tree for BTJ. I do think that going into this year now with more of an understanding and another offseason with Liam Coen and what they kind of expect from each other, both as a player and as a coach, I think BTJ is going to be closer to that 2024 version than he is that 2025 version of himself. I think that Trevor Lawrence has talked about, his appreciation for how Brian Thomas Jr. has attacked this offseason. Liam Cohen's also said the same thing. And what I think about BTJ is that there's no doubt about it in terms of this wide receiver room. He's got the absolute highest ceiling. The question is can he make consistent impact being on that outside of the receiver? Because Coen talked about it. A lot of their offense from the Jacksonville Jaguars perspective is really in between the numbers and really trying to take advantage of guys over the middle, such as Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, Brenton Strange, and even that rushing attack, whereas BTJ primarily works on the outside and over the middle is not necessarily his strength. So I think there's going to be a good balance between, using BTJ in order to maximize his talents while also not getting farther away from what Liam Coen wants to do from an offensive perspective. We'll get into the last takeaway from Liam Coen and this kind of interview with Peter Schrager, but we would not be able to do today's show without our wonderful friends over at PrizePicks. Today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks, America's #1 sports picks app. Baseball is well underway, and along with a ton of other sports that you can cash in with on PrizePicks. Football is right around the corner, so make sure you're locked in with PrizePicks as it is the best place to win cash while watching sports. PrizePicks is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida, and the app is really easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. For example, you can even do season-long football lineups, such as this one that I've got for you on screen. It's a 3-player lineup, $20 to win $120. Give me the more on Omarion Hampton. I think the offense is going to be opened up more with Mike McDaniel calling plays over there in Los Angeles. Give me the more on his rushing yards. I got the more on BTJ, speaking of which, on his receiving yards. I think he has a bounce-back year. Give me the more on his receiving yards. And I do think Caleb Williams, honestly, could be the first Bears 4,000-yard passer this year. Give me the more on his passing yards. Again, that's $20 to win $120. Guys, that's not all. New user offer. Play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in lineups if you win that initial $5 lineup. Just use code HMA when you sign up. That's right. PrizePicks just switched up their offer, so there's no better time to join. Lock in and win that first lineup. That's code HMA at sign up to get $150 in bonus lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, code HMA. Download the app now. Coen not only talked about all 4 of these guys that we previously talked about, but it wouldn't be a Jaguars offensive video if it wasn't talked about Parker Washington and just his overall work ethic. And it was just something that we kind of figured this about Parker Washington as he has kind of steadily improved over the course of his career. But Liam Coen highlighted just the kind of guy that is in the building and is honestly, in my opinion, could be the heartbeat of the Jaguars offense in 2026. Here's what he had to say on Parker Washington. Him and Trevor have continued to just build a connection, a relationship on and off the field. And I mean, Parker Washington is the first guy in the building. 5 a.m., 5:30. He is in the weight room working on himself, his body, on his mind. He trains both mentally and physically. He really gets it. He pours into himself and his body and knows how to try and take care of himself as a pro. 6th round pick, man. That's just he's continued to ascend ever since he got here. And look, Washington, from being a former day 3 pick out of Penn State, right? Didn't even necessarily know it was a guarantee if he was going to make the roster at the time. Just slowly worked himself. 2023, 16 receptions, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. You see the improvement to 2024, 32 receptions, 390 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then last year kind of had his breakout year. And I really do think that he could potentially even take off even further this year. I think that he could be a receiver that gets maybe over 1,100 yards for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if I'm James Gladstone, and if he is for whatever reason watching this episode of Jags Now and made it all the way to the end of this video, which makes you a real one, James, sign this man to an extension. Sign this man to an extension ASAP. I think the price is only going to go up for Parker Washington. I really, truly believe he is a guy that you want to build your kind of team going into the future around when, again, the coach is even saying it, right? He's the first one in the building. He continuously improves. He's constantly working on himself mentally, physically, and he's produced for you. And I think he's only going to continue to produce, and he's been a consistent part of this offense. And really towards the end of the year, when the Jaguars made that kind of run at the end of the season, he was a key part of it. He was really a key part of this offense. And that brings me to this kind of question. If you had to rank the Jaguars right now, just as their offense, fill in the blank for me. The Jaguars have a top blank offense in the National Football League. Let me know down below in the comment section. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know down below. And then, guys, that is going to conclude this episode of Jags Now presented by Chat Sports. We will be back with some more videos. Obviously, training camp is getting going next week, so we'll have coverage on that. And then before you know it, preseason's on the way. Then the regular season. We will have you covered here at Jags Now. So subscribe, turn on your notifications. And until next time, guys, peace